Three cracking and very newsworthy stories from Breakingviews this morning. Number one, the Bank of England needs a British governor. Two, Tesco's stabilisation plan deserves support. And three, Warren Buffett's candour is refreshing, says the team, but limited. With me is Robert Cole.
Hiya.
That's not to say these stories are usually not cracking or not newsworthy.
I was going to say. Nice of you to emphasise that.
Bank of England needs a homegrown governor, says Peter Tarr Larsen. He must have a British passport. I thoroughly disagree with that.
Well, do you know what? I disagree with Peter as well, and I don't want to make this a habit, but I agree with you. But Breakingviews is a broad church, and we're allowed to have different opinions. Peter's is a very well thought out piece and hard to argue with. Basically saying, look, this is one of the most important unelected positions, if not the most unelected positions in the UK. You wouldn't even consider having a non-British Prime Minister. Right. You wouldn't have a non-British leader of the judiciary.
I'm arguing with the wrong person, really. But why would you have an American Adam Posen on the MPC, Deanne Julius, also an American, I believe, on the former MPC. These are, not as important as the main man, but pretty damn important.
Well, yes, they're important, but, the argument there is that these are, if you like, non-executive posts. These are advisory posts where they want the British institution can draw and should draw from the widest possible pool of international experience. Now, an obvious comparison here is made with the football team, which is slightly...
surely that's the most important elected position in the country.
My view is that, the football team manager, not that I'm a great football follower, is definitely should be an Englishman, because the football team is, by definition, a national enterprise. Whereas you could argue that actually being the Bank of England is a global position.
And Plenderleith was on the South African central bank, I believe. Was there for a while. But
there's another side to this anyway, which is we wonder whether the story is actually just about putting the cat among the pigeons and trying to make sure that the British candidates who are still in the lead and still favourite aren't getting too complacent.
I should have mentioned actually the context here that Carney, the Bank of Canada governor, is rumoured to be up for this job, but that's been denied by Bank of Canada and Bank of England. OK, Tesco. We both spoke to the CFO this morning. What did you get from him? Well,
the thing to remember here, of course, is that shares lost 20% of their value, a profit warning in early January. A lot of concern about whether the new Broom management can continue the corporate growth story so handsomely sort of put in place by Terry Leahy, and a slowdown in the UK sales. I thought that was an overreaction then, and I think that Tesco needs to be congratulated for getting to grips with the situation, and they've come up with a plan.
I hope they've got to grips with the situation.
But
is it radical enough?
It's not terribly It's not terribly radical, but it's very, very sensible and very, very good. The last thing you would have wanted to see here is they see this enormous loss of investor confidence, and they suddenly go trying to reinvent the whole model. That's not the case. They remain committed to most, if not all, their international businesses, and they admit that maybe they took their eye off the ball a bit with the UK. But they also say, look, going into recession, the thing to do was defend, and to make sure that our profits aren't going to slide away. So margin was an important thing. Now it seems that perhaps they did a bit too much of that, and they've got to suffer on margins to get the.
I got an interesting smirk out of him, out of the CFO, when I said, look, you've got your eye back on the ball in the UK, but maybe you're taking it off the ball elsewhere, i.e. the US, as a result of this.
Yeah, that's a risk. That's definitely a risk. But it'll be interesting. Perhaps we'll link to your video through the Breakingviews website and so on too, so you can make up your own mind about the real meaning behind that smirk of yours.
Very, very nice. Finally, I'll let you explain this one. Buffett at least learned one thing from Steve Jobs. Yeah, what did he learn?
That if people get sick, right, and that if you are sick and you're at the top of a big enterprise, just like anything, just tell people about it and let people be grown up about it. And, very sad news is that Buffett's got a form of prostate cancer. cancer is no longer a life sentence. I mean, he's an old man, which means that
I think
things are a bit dodgy.
worth.
So what he's learned from Steve Jobs is just come clean. There's no embarrassment. It doesn't mean to say you can't do your job, anything like that. But the key, or the sting in the tail, what Buffett doesn't seem to be getting his hands around his succession. That's a doubt that perhaps he shared or shares with Steve Jobs.
Yeah. Also worth a mention here, whether relevant to this or not. Steve Jobs, for many months, I believe, refused treatment. Warren Buffett has said he's starting radiation therapy.
I'm not a doctor, mate. I'm sure that's sensible, but I think that.
Well, I'm talking about the way the investor perceives this, the way the investor digests news like that.
Yeah, but that's a personal decision, and I think that we should leave those kind of personal decisions to people, and the way you choose that. I'm not sure that really I'd agree that was terribly irrelevant part of how investors should cope with this. Okay, Robert, thanks for that. For more agenda-setting insight, watch our US Breakingviews show every day, 12:30 Eastern, 17:30 BST. Of course, you can find all of these on the Breakingviews website. You can find my interview with Terry, not with Terry Leahy, as a slip of the tongue, with a new CFO, the CFO of Tesco, on the Breakingviews side as well. I'm Axel Threlfall, this is Reuters.